God, my appearance. Oh no. Everyone, how's it going? My name is Harmony Nice and today I'm going to be telling you about the super strange and very interesting paranormal case of the Snedeker family. So today I'm going to be telling you the true story of the Haunting in Connecticut film and what they experienced and things like that, and it as a actual true case, kind of like I do in my unsolved mystery videos. Obviously it's about a paranormal case. It's something very exciting to announce. This is actually a collab with my absolute love Kyla Rebecca here on YouTube. She's also doing a video about a paranormal case today of the Smell family, which is the true story of the Conjuring 2. Kyla is absolutely incredible and she has been such an amazing presence for me on YouTube for quite a long time now, and I love her so much. Her videos are pretty much all paranormal based and she's kind of got a bit of like a witchy vibe going on as well. I love all of her videos. She is absolutely incredible and has such an amazing personality and is so friendly and has always been so kind to me. So if you like my channel, my paranormal story times, I definitely go hop over to Kyla's channel and go check her out. I'll put a link to her channel and also her video in the description down below, so make sure to go check out her video after mine. Leave her a like, leave her some love from me. I'm hoping one day we can collab properly in the future, but until then we'll have to stick with this virtual collab. So I really hope you enjoy, and let's just jump right into it. Today I'm going to be telling you the real story of the Haunting in Connecticut film. So this was actually the first horror film I ever saw. I think I saw it about the age of 12 possibly. That is what got my obsession starting with horror films. I loved it so much. I watched it all the time. It scared the bloody crap out of me. It's literally my favourite film in the entire universe and I've seen it 27 times to the T. And it is an incredible haunted house horror film, but done so well. So I would definitely recommend that off the bat. But the scariest thing about this film, and what I didn't actually realise until watching the second disc in the box set, which I got for my birthday like ages and ages ago when I got The Haunting Connecticut on DVD, is that it is based on a true story. And there actually was a family that this happened to. It is based off the true paranormal events of the Snedeker family. So on the 30th of June 1986, the Snedeker family moved into a house on 208 Meriden Avenue in Southington, Connecticut. The family consisted of the mother, Carmen, and Al, who was the father of the family, and their three sons, the oldest, Philip Snedeker, the middle child, Bradley Snedeker, the youngest was Alan Jr. Snedeker, and apparently they also had a daughter called Jennifer, but I'm not 100% sure whether that was true or not. The family had to choose to rent a house in Connecticut because it was close to the UCONN hospital, because their oldest son, Philip Snedeker, was receiving treatment for the cancer that he had of the immune system called Hodgkin's lymphoma. The family were having some financial problems at the time, so they were looking for a house that was big enough to accommodate them all, but also have the rent not too high, and also obviously be placed close enough to the hospital so it's not a massive trek, because Carmen, the mother, was super worried that all of this travelling back and forwards to the hospital would end up killing him before the cancer would. So when they found this house on 208 Meriden Avenue in Southington, Connecticut, they jumped at the chance. This house happened to be placed perfectly near the hospital. The rent was so cheap and also it was huge. So to them, it seemed absolutely perfect. But the house actually had a dark history. The house was formerly owned by a man called Darrell Kern. Prior to the Snedeker family purchasing the house in the 1980s, it actually served as Hallahan's funeral home for multiple decades before that. While moving into the house, Carmen stated that she was aware that the house was a funeral home before, but the offer on the house was so good, they physically couldn't pass it up. Also, what she did state is that she wasn't aware that it may have had a darker history than just being a funeral home. They obviously really needed the house, and if it's for your son who has got cancer and they need a house like that, you're not gonna worry about ghosts at that time, that's what I'm saying. On moving into the house, the family quickly noticed that the house didn't seem completely normal. Above every doorway was a crucifix, And then when the family ventured into the basement, they actually found mortuary equipment, including things like toe tags and other really strange tools that were hid behind some building equipment. But again, this was kind of mildly expected considering it was a funeral home before this, and it still wasn't really anything to worry about because they knew the history of the house. But the family actually also found an embalming room. So Carmen blocked off the embalming room, and the basement was actually sectioned into two things and made into Philip Snedeker's and Bradley Snedeker's room. But according to the family, from the first night, the house just didn't seem right. Philip was awoken during this night to apparently somebody in the basement saying his name. But his mother Carmen reassured him that he was just tired from the travels and that he needed to get some sleep. Upon living there for a little bit, the Snedeker family discovered some extremely disturbing things which grew their concern about the house. Their mother Carmen actually found a small graveyard out in the back garden. Also hid in some of the cupboards, actually discovered some old pictures of some corpses positioned in a certain way and photographed after they had been deceased. Apparently this was something people used to do in the olden days though, just like take pictures of corpses, but yeah, yeah. And in the first few weeks of living there, Carmen noticed that in the morgue part of the house that was formerly the mortuary section of the house, the crucifix that once resided there actually disappeared, yet the nails that held it up were undisturbed. The Snedeker family said that at first they brushed it off, like there was nothing to really worry about. Obviously you're gonna get some chills if you know a place used to be a funeral home, like it is a bit creepy, but they brushed it off, they needed this house. But Philip was extremely creeped out by this house. He really didn't like the house and didn't want to stay there. But from the start it was apparent that there was a cold, empty, weird feeling to the house that none of them could put their fingers on, and it did bother them all. One afternoon, Philip, Brad and AJ claimed to have been exploring the embalming underneath the basement counters. All three of the boys spotted a weird stain on the floor. Upon approaching it, they told AJ to touch the strange liquid on the floor that happened to be dark red and sticky, and he did. All three boys claimed that it felt and looked like blood. Upon touching it, they all freaked out and panicked and ran straight to Carmen and went to tell Carmen what they had just seen, but Carmen told them to not go snooping around the part of the house that she had blocked off. She was asking them why they went into the place that she had blocked off and to stop being so silly and not to go against her wishes again. And after that, the experiences seemed to get more and more frequent, especially when it came to the oldest son, Philip. Philip kept telling his mother Carmen that he kept seeing a figure on the basement stairs that wasn't there. In one incident, Philip and his brother Brad were in the basement at night, and out of nowhere one of their robot toys started going absolutely crazy, and reportedly in the darkness of the room that was lit up by this robot toy that was going crazy at night stood 4 figures just in the darkness of the room. Now this is giving me chills, literally. The boys ran upstairs to tell their mother Carmen what they had just seen, and Carmen went downstairs to the basement to check out the basement and see if anybody was there, and nobody was to be found in the basement. But she did say that she had a feeling of somebody being there. This is freaking me out so much and I don't know why. So Carmen went upstairs to the kitchen because she did have an odd feeling like somebody was in the house, to go and call the police so they could search the house for her. But upon going into the kitchen, she discovered that the crucifix that resided above the door to the kitchen was also missing. I keep hearing really weird noises and I can't shake it. I can't shake it, you guys. But Carmen was super fed up with this, so she told the boys to stop making up silly ghost stories and just to leave it because they had no other choice but to stay in the house. But soon after that night, the older son Philip's personality seemed to shift. He rarely smiled anymore and he was super grumpy all the time, and Cameron was concerned about him, but at first she kind of thought it was just like a teenagery thing and it was nothing really to worry about. But he became very like excluded from the rest of the family and very like pushed everyone away. She was also concerned that it may have been the treatment her son was getting at the time. So she asked the doctor if their treatment was doing any harm to Philip Snedeker's brain. Maybe it was affecting him in some sort of way that made his personality shift, and apparently upon researching it, the medication was not affecting his brain. Not long after this, Brad, the middle son, actually returned home from school one day and went down to the basement and found Philip removing all of the blocking materials off the embalming room. And when Brad asked him what he was doing, Philip replied with, "I've made a deal." Brad straight away told his mother Carmen about this, and Carmen was so concerned. She was extremely religious, so the fact that he actually had made a deal with something she really hated the idea of. Over the next few months, the experiences continued. Carmen began to notice things herself and started to think that maybe her children weren't as being silly as she thought they were. She noticed some really strange things. One of these things was that she was mopping the basement floor one day and she blinked her eyes, and when she opened them, water that she was mopping the floor with turned into dark red liquid, much like blood. She blinked a few times and the blood didn't disappear, and then she blinked again and it just went back to water. She says the dishes would also put themselves away occasionally and get themselves out occasionally, and the radios would randomly blare out loud and the lights would flicker, even when they took out the light bulbs apparently. She also said she began experiencing this strange phenomena of like crows and like birds fluttering around the room, and then when she would look at the room, the birds would disappear. Also voices of people calling her son's name throughout the house, and also lots and lots of items disappearing too, including most of the crucifixes above the doors. Next summer, Al and Carmen's nieces Tammy and Kim came to stay at the Snedeker household. Their parents was actually going through a divorce at the time, so they decided to come stay with them a bit to get away from all of the drama. Apparently Philip really didn't care and was not interested in them being there, and didn't want to see them ever, and just completely kind of parred them off. And he became more aggressive this summer and angry all the time. Philip started a journal around this time that he used to write in all the time and just kind of ignore the rest of his family. He also took a certain disliking to his younger brother Brad and became very aggressive with him. His brother Brad was trying to bug him about this journal, but when he asked him about it, apparently Philip just stared at Brad and didn't say a word. During the summer, Tammy and Carmen were cleaning the house together, and they were cleaning Philip's room and they came across his journal. So Tammy passed Carmen the journal, and as Carmen was extremely concerned about Philip at the time, she decided to nose in his journal and read through it. And what she read, she said, was purely shocking. She said there's some extremely disturbing notes and really odd poems and extremely weird talks about stories about what happened to the people in the mortuary that lived there before, even discussing things of like abuse towards the bodies and acts upon dead people and murder and death. But Carmen was extremely confused about the journal, not because of all the gross stuff. Obviously she was concerned about that, mainly because Philip was dyslexic and the whole entire journal was written in perfect English. When she approached her son about this, her son did not seem fazed at all that she had read his journal. He did not care. He wasn't worried that she had just read all this messed up stuff. But she asked him about how he wrote this because he's dyslexic, and he just replied with, "The man helped me." Soon after this, Tammy, the older niece, began to experience occurrences frequently too. Tammy was in her bed trying to sleep one night, and out of nowhere, her covers were just ripped off her. And she also said she frequently felt people pull on her bra. But Carmen thought this was Philip, as he had become extremely aggressive, and he became even more aggressive towards Tammy. One day, Philip and Brad were having a bad argument about something, and Tammy overheard, so she decided to get involved and try to break up the tiff. But apparently when Tammy tried to intervene, Philip went into Tammy's room and picked her up and chucked her across the room like she was nothing. After this incident, Carmen became extremely worried, and she decided to call Philip's doctor to ask him what she thought was going on and what she should do about this, because she had no idea. And the doctor determined that Philip had schizophrenia and decided to have him committed to a mental institution and wanted to begin the process soon. Later that night, Carmen made Philip's favourite dinner for everybody, and everybody sat down for dinner. And apparently not long after they had sat down for dinner, two men in white suits barged through the front door without knocking and came to Philip and put him in a straitjacket and took him away. And he was taken away in the ambulance to go to the mental institution and was institutionalized for 45 days. And Carmen was so upset about this. She said she was extremely distraught about how they went about taking him away. Carmen said she wanted to believe her son's stories, but when it came to the actual welfare of her other children and the children that were staying in their house, she believed that was very important at the time, and I completely get it, like, especially if some of what the things that were said in the article were true. Unfortunately, there was no proof at the time to Philip's madness other than other experiences that had happened in the house. As Philip was getting put in the straitjacket, he looked Carmen in the eye and said, "They're going to come after you now." Carmen was in absolute hysterics and was obviously very upset that her son had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and wanted to believe him about the ghost stories, but was kind of more upset that he might have schizophrenia and have to deal with that. She went and sat on Philip's staircase to his room and sat there for hours and apparently repeatedly asked this ghost or this man to come and play with her, but nothing happened. A few days after Philip had been taken away to be institutionalized, Philip's prediction became truth. Carmen was taking a shower one morning and out of absolutely nowhere, the shower curtains wrapped round her and began to suffocate her and became extremely tight and like enveloped her in the shower curtains. And the shower curtain became so tight around her face, it began to smother her and she could not move or get out of it. Tammy overheard the struggle of Carmen in the bathroom and ran through and ripped a hole in the head of the shower curtain so she could breathe or push it away. And then the curtains suddenly released themselves. And that is something neither of them said to this day that they can explain. A few nights later, Tammy was in bed and she said she woke up with a horrible presence feeling in the room. And then her covers were ripped off her once again. Tammy then ran through to her auntie's room and told her what had happened, and Carmen got her Bible and noticed on the way out of her room that the last crucifix remaining on the house had also disappeared too. She tucked Tammy in and tried to comfort her and began to read the Bible out loud. Then the pair of them both felt a presence coming to them and it got weirder and weirder and weirder and closer and closer and closer. A hand apparently appeared underneath, going up Tammy's clothing and groping her as it went up, and Carmen stated that she saw the hand and it was thin and bony and odd and coming from the bottom of the covers. So Carmen instantly grabbed Tammy and they both ran down to the dining room, and apparently upon doing so, something grabbed Tammy's rosary beads around her neck and ripped it off and threw it to the floor. Carmen described the demon in the house, or one of the demons in the house, as tall, thin and in a tuxedo suit with black hair, pitch black eyes and very high cheekbones. And another had white hair and eyes and wear a pin-striped tuxedo and also was floating constantly in motion, and it was apparent that one of these was believed to be the entity that did this. At this point, Carmen decided that she needed some professional help from it, so she decided to call upon the one and the only Ed and Lorraine Warren for help, who are well known for the cases of the Amityville haunting and also the Smell family, which Kyla has done a video on. Go watch the video. The Warrens came to the family home very quickly, as upon calling them, Carmen said that the ghosts were physically harming them, that they were hurting her, and they were talking to her and making things disappear, and the Warrens instantly thought it was something extremely dark, so rushed over to the Snedeker family home. As the Warrens began to investigate the home, they claimed that there was multiple spirits in the house, but there was one or two that were overwhelming dark presences in the house. Ed Warren stated that multiple times he felt like he was being randomly stabbed by needles and things like that. He said he got the sensation mostly sitting down in the basement. While they were there also, both of the women, Carmen and Tammy, claimed to be actually sexually assaulted by the ghosts, and so did the husband, Alan. Ed and Lorraine claimed that they saw firsthand a demon in the house, or an example of what a demon could do in the house, including two of the family members being slapped to the floor by literally thin air, and also being beaten and pushed multiple times. Also cases within the house that when the family would bring home food, it would be mouldy in a matter of hours for no reason, and the whole entire house had an overwhelming smell of like rotting meat. Upon investigation into the house, Ed and Lorraine discovered more about the house's past that was truly disturbing. It was determined that prior to the family living there, the morticians that worked in the house before were actually involved in necromancy and trying to bring the dead back to life and connect with the dead, and it took really, really weird actions involving doing odd stuff to the body in order to do so, such as cutting and sewing. You can use your imagination for that. And also apparently sexual abuse of the dead bodies too, which apparently all took part in the mortuary section of the house. And actually the bedroom of the two youngest children that were staying in the house was actually used as a place to present caskets in. And also Ed and Lorraine stated that in the master bedroom there was a trap door where coffins would be brought up and down through. And apparently you could actually hear at night the chain being hoisted up and down, as if the coffins were being brought up into the room, even though they weren't. Apparently one of these times, Ed actually went to go check what this was, and he went into the room and found 4 women dancing and giggling and running in a circle, but upon further inspection and trying to get closer, the 4 women disappeared into thin air. Ed and Lorraine Warren decided to perform an exorcism of the house and exorcise it all and cleanse it all and sort it out for the Snedeker family. So they did, and according to the Snedeker family, this cleared it. Unfortunately, no, there was no dramatic ending like the house got set on fire or anything like that. They performed an exorcism and it cleared the house. It's not apparent how much longer the Snedeker family lived there. Some said it was 2 years, some people said it was really soon after that they moved out. But basically, Philip got out of the mental institution that he was in and apparently returned back to normal. Also, his cancer cleared up for a very, very long time, so they decided to move to Texas. In a later interview, Philip explained that he felt extremely, extremely betrayed on what his mother did, but he understood that she was just trying to do her best at the time, and he also said that he did feel like something evil had resided in his body for that period of time. But apparently he didn't have schizophrenia after this, and that it was either misdiagnosed or... But unfortunately, after 24 years, the cancer returned and Philip died in January of 2012. There's been a lot of criticism against this case. Firstly, some people believe that it was completely done as a money stunt or things like that. There were tons and tons of media coverage saying that it wasn't true and that it was just a cover-up for something, or it was a cover-up for the son acting aggressive. Not to mention there was actually also a book written about the house called In a Dark Place, I believed, where it completely slated the family and Ed and Lorraine Warren and things like that, but it didn't get published for long, so there's like no copies left basically. It's so expensive to buy. But the family still stand 100% that it was the truth. Every single member of the family claim it was the truth. Even though some people that said they worked at the house said that it wasn't the truth, but Ed and Lorraine claimed it was the truth, and friends of the family claimed it was the truth too. The family that lives there now says there has been no paranormal disturbances in the house and that their home is lovely, and that it was a load of Hollywood lies, or if it was true, that the exorcism must have cleared it up because they have not had any disturbances at all. So I really don't know, because I would love to believe that this story is true, because I think it's so, so interesting, and I've loved the film for so many years. So I'd like to believe there is some truth to the haunting of it. And I do really, really love Ed and Lorraine Warren. I think they're so, so interesting, and they've helped quite a few people with what they've done. And obviously I'm a massive believer in the paranormal, so I'd never doubt that. And I guess if something massive happened paranormal, it may just cause attention and things like that. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that this is a true story? Do you think they were telling the truth, or do you think it is a media coverage? Because I'm like on par with it, I'm not really sure. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really hope you enjoyed this paranormal case video. I might do more of these, to be honest, because this was so fun and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below if you liked them. Please go watch Kyla's video. I really hope you enjoy hers too. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys. Haunting in Connecticut.